Moving to France, how does it feel like? What do you have to do? What do you have to look up for? It is not. Okay. I have never left my home country, Singapore. Never. Okay. By that, I mean like I've never lived abroad. I've never had a semester abroad anywhere. The furthest that I probably had gone was probably Bali, and taking the train and taking the plane. But I've never stayed more than 5 days, you know. But then when life comes up and it presents you with an opportunity to move out of your country, what do you do? Now, the thing is, I can only talk about how life is like in France. I don't know how is it like with the rest of the other countries. Well, except for Casablanca, I'll make a video about that. But I can only talk about what life is like in France for a foreigner. One is that the French people, like any other culture, they have their own manners of behavior, be it spoken, be it quotidian lifestyle, and you kind of just need to observe it before making any judgment. Resist making judgment. The reason why I said that is because when you watch them and you know why they do certain things and how they do certain things, you understand the culture a little bit more, and it also helps you understand why the language could be like that. Just for example, here it is customary to say bonjour when you enter a store and to say merci, au revoir, bonjour when you leave a store. I kind of like this greeting. It's kind of nice that you actually say hello to a complete stranger and you say thank you, have a good day at the end. We don't do that in Singapore, by the way. We don't. We may say hello when a person come in and the store owner may greet us. We will leave and we will just leave, or we will say thank you. But here, whether you are the customer or the salesperson at the store, they will greet you. You will say bonjour also sometimes when you're passing by a stranger at really close proximity, be it the postman, be it your neighbor, or just really, literally a complete stranger. I had someone say bonjour to me when I sat next to him on a bus. That doesn't exist in Singapore, by the way. And that makes me really appreciate kindness. Having said that, you also got to know that the French people are quite insular, for lack of a better word. Meaning, if you can't speak French, it will be difficult for you to integrate into the culture, and they would be hesitant to interact with you. Now, I know a lot of English speakers say that the French are proud of the language, and I will not refute. They are proud of their language. They also have this sense that people should speak their language instead of meeting somewhere in the middle. But here's the thing. The education system for English or any other language here in France is quite bad. It's really terrible. They're very good in the pedagogy of the other subjects like mathematics, chemistry, physics, history, geography. It also depends on the teacher. But when it comes to language learning, the national pedagogy is terrible. Terrible. I have my colleagues who come to me and tell me that it's very difficult for them to acquire the language and practice it outside of the classroom because their pedagogy is just not working. And I observe it for myself. I talk to them, I understand where they're coming from. It's terrible because sometimes it's not put in real world context. You kind of learn grammar rules by the book, and you kind of not practice it outside of school and in a different context, unless you get opportunity to work in customer service, whether in a restaurant, hotels, or even magazines, and it's a touristic place that sort of forces you to speak English. Otherwise they don't speak English. And vice versa for me. I don't think I will be able to progress in French if I did not spend the time to invest in learning French and immerse myself and getting a job here. It's just how it is. So once you know the culture and you know a little bit of the French language, albeit you will not be able to speak fluently tout de suite right away, but when you understand that, you kind of know where they are coming from. And that makes assimilation into France, if you want to live here, much easier. Not so terrible language wise and culture wise. I say that simply because if you have been watching the news recently, I'm filming this sometime in March. If you have been watching the news the past few months, you would know that there is this great manifestation that is going around because the government has raised the retirement age from 62 to 64. That created a wave of disapproval among the French. There was manifestation, the trains stopped working, the planes and the airports closed. So it really disrupted travel, whether for leisure, for work. But in Parliament, they decided to overrule the public vote, and then the public got angrier. So they took it to the streets some more, and it has been a long period of grève or manifestation, or what we would say as protest. It hasn't come to rioting yet, but it is quite riotous in Paris, if you have been watching the news around this time. So I understand where they are coming from also, but at the same time, I wonder, can it be any different for them? Because that's just really how it is for them. And some of my colleagues said that some of them have not left France and they have no idea what's going on out there. And really, that's when I realized my privilege, but I also realized if you don't know what's going on outside of the world that you're living in, you will not be able to tell much difference. And it would, for you, the default that you have been going through is the default, and any changes is really uncomfortable. And that's what the older generation of French are kind of against. Mostly the younger generations that are a bit more adaptable and generally able to maneuver through the complexities of modernity, of current life. Just to kind of quickly summarize it, if you want to come to France, I suggest you learn a bit about the French culture, learn a bit about the French language, and understand a bit about their behavior. I'm going to talk more about how you can better progress in French in my other videos, and what does it feel like to be a foreigner here, that people can't quite place, in a country that I actually do like living. Till next time, if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And till next time, ciao!